Do you think that HR leaders currently are still very transactional and not strategic?
We are definitely transactional. We are still a bit far away in terms of becoming strategic.
Most of our training also is designed to cater to business needs and not the culture needs, sadly. Do you think as HR become more of a cost center?
But generally, HR is considered to be a cost center and not someone who is driving or leading the culture change in the organization, which will eventually have an impact on the bottom line.
बहुत सारी ट्रेनिंग कैलेंडर की हद तक रह जाती है सर. Why is that happening? Why trainings have just become tick boxes and not really, driving the culture of learning in the organization?
Training calendar obviously is a result of proper training needs assessment exercise. That exercise can take place in two ways. Either it's made part of a performance appraisal exercise, or a separate exercise can be done for training users.
बहुत सारी ट्रेनिंग सिर्फ इवेंट बेस्ड है, बहुत सारी ट्रेनिंग्स के नाम पे सिर्फ इंगेजमेंट एक्सरसाइजेस हैं. उससे होता ये कि द एंटायर फंक्शन ऑफ L&D gets disturbed. ऐसे वक्तों में सर क्या इशू है, सही कैसे होगा ये सारे के सारे मामलात, और कौन स्टेप लेगा इसको सही करने?
Some onus of it certainly remains with HR. Not only suggest and recommend, but substantiate it with facts, substantiate it with case studies. So HR definitely will come up with recommendations based on facts, but the big onus remains with CEO because once they start giving importance to this particular function, only then it will see light of day.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back viewers to yet another episode of No Cap with Zain Goplani. आज हमारे साथ जो गेस्ट हैं किसी तारुफ के मोहताज नहीं है. अशर सईद सर का नाम है. Of course, senior leader in HR world. Currently also working as Chief Human Resource Officer. And आज जो हम बात करने वाले हैं इस टॉपिक का भी नाम है HR without filters, what we don't say on stage. आप बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अशर साहब हमें ज्वाइन करने के लिए.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Ashaar Saeed, and I am currently working as CHRO at Al-Karam Studio. In last over 3 decades, I've been working in HR, career HR professional, and have worked for 10 industries, have worked for many companies, and have worked both within and outside Pakistan. So that's in a nutshell my quick intro.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अशर साहब हमें ज्वाइन करने के लिए. And we are privileged to have you with us. How have you been?
Thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation. I'm very good, alhamdulillah.
Perfect. Sir, no cap conversations हो रही है, and no cap again, as you know, it's a very Gen Z term जहाँ पे मतलब ये होता है कि no filters, and that's what they say, no cap. So, sir, पहला सवाल, you have been working in the HR field particularly for more than 25 years now, only in HR field. What do you think? Is HR better today or better marketed today?
Interesting one. HR is, in certain aspects, is better today than what it used to be.
Okay.
Having said that, the marketing bit and the way it looks, the facade has definitely improved. But I still feel, without pinpointing any particular generation or any particular industry, that we are still in infancy when it comes to real HR in Pakistan, and more so in the region also. So we are on the track, but the pace is not as much as one would like it to be.
Interesting. So, you being a C-level suite person right now, do you think that HR leaders currently are still very transactional and not strategic? And is that a particular person's issue, or the system or the organization themselves are not strategic or not really serious about HR's core function?
Okay, in my humble opinion, we are definitely transactional. We are still a bit far away in terms of becoming strategic. But the reason for that is not related to the professionals in HR. It's not related to the organizations also. It's more of a societal reason that why HR is transactional, because we as a society are transactional.
Okay.
Strategic has got to do something with a certain period of time, with a certain distance, looking at a distance, becoming a bit of a visionary, not entirely. So that brings a strategic approach to any area, including HR. But since we as a society, we talk about this evening, we talk about at best tomorrow, so we can never get out of the whirlpool of being transactional when it comes to HR also, because HR doesn't exist in isolation.
Of course.
It's part of the organizations, it's part of the corporate culture, and it's part of the society at large. So definitely we are still roaming around or in going in circles, and it's still primarily transactional.
So, sir, 25 years, that's a lot of time, yeah? What is that one practice that you still feel like, what is one HR practice that you still feel it's there, but it's not really serving the organization or its people, and it continues to happen even now?
Okay, so in terms of pinpointing any particular practice or process that we deploy, all of us deploy in HR, a lot of things that we do from morning till evening, uh, the complete employee life cycle that we are custodians of as HR. So, without, as I said, pinpointing any particular thing, we HR is still struggling to find its seat on the table.
Really?
So, from that perspective, when I say that, what do I mean very, very quickly is that HR has come to a stage where people and managers and senior management and entrepreneurs have started talking about HR. It has become a buzzword. It has become. I mean, when I said in the beginning that we believe more in facade than substance, so that facade has been achieved.
Okay.
So HR is good and important to talk about HR, but when it comes to getting that seat on the table, where HR is listened to as well, where HR get its due importance, we are still a bit far away from that. So the seat is there, but then that seat's presence still remains symbolic.
Interesting.
It still remains. And then the general thing that we experience in terms of the question that you asked, that for right and wrong reasons both, business prevails
Any given day, of course.
and HR takes a backseat. So basically, in my opinion, again, HR is supposed to, when it comes to inducting employees in the organization, being the gatekeeper, HR is supposed to find the right culture fit in core. That's the primary role of HR, especially when it comes to the first part of the employee life cycle. There, if business believes and feels that this person is required, otherwise they start coming up with reasons like that business will shut down or business will slow down, and we need this individual.
Yeah.
Then the cultural fit thing takes a backseat, and HR has to give in, and that's the reason I said that business prevails. So the business functions prevail.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is something that needs to change over time. Not that HR should prevail. It should be something that's in the best interest of the organization and should be a mix. The decision should be a mix of input from all relevant departments. Unfortunately, generally speaking, that's not the case.
Yeah. And most of the organization, you just mentioned business prevails and business leaders prevail. And coming from the L&D market myself, and most of our trainings also is designed to cater to business needs and not the culture needs, sadly. Do you think as HR become more of a cost center rather than a strategic partner that really moves the business forward? Is that the case in our Pakistani market right now?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That's how it is. Though I wouldn't say that that's happening across. There are OSSs which are there and which are which are actually implementing best practices also. The exceptions are there, but generally HR is considered to be a cost center and not someone who is driving or leading the culture change in the organization, which will eventually have an impact on the bottom line. But people, due to the way we are, and due to the fact that we are in a particular society, that approach would only come if focusing on culture and then understanding that this will drive the results eventually.
Yeah.
That is because of the fact that, again, as I said, that we are not ready to wait.
Yeah.
And cultural change takes a bit of time. It doesn't happen overnight.
Well, I agree to that, that cultural change takes over time, but sir, it's been decades now that the HR has really moved out from our people's, not out of that. Remember that department that used to have that only used to do entry and exit of that thing, I forgot the exact word of that department that we used to call in factories back in the days. Um, Having said this, एक सिर्फ इदारा जो सिर्फ सैलरीज डिस्पर्स कर रहा था या फिर सिर्फ लोगों को हायरिंग और फायरिंग कर रहा था, उससे बनस्पत तो बहुत सारे फंक्शंस इवॉल्व हुए हैं. But I still feel, and you can please correct me on that, that there is still a gap between the leadership level, let's say CEOs and all the board of directors and everything, and probably वहाँ पे भी HR को लेके वो seriousness नहीं आ रही है, जो कि होनी चाहिए. What do you think about that?
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. But as I said, there are exceptions. I have in my career,
Mm.
I mean, without now getting overcritical, I have had experiences, at least in the 3 organizations that I have worked with, where the CEO, including my current organization, Alkaram, where the CEO works very closely with HR.
That's right.
And if I pick up 2 people from senior management without whom he doesn't move forward,
Well,
are HR and finance.
no.
2 key advisors to CEO, and that's how ideally it should be.
Yes.
But and because HR is about people,
Yeah.
and CFO is about finances,
Of course.
so 2 key areas which can drive organization forward.
Definitely.
But generally speaking, that's not the case. So the seat is there, as I said,
Yeah.
but the seat has to be given its due, and without being again overcritical about the business and about the senior management, HR also has an onus. HR leaders, HR managers also need to understand this. So, in order to become a good business partner, they also need to put in a lot of effort and start speaking in the language that CEOs want. CEOs want an input where they get 2 lines from the HR that this is how it's going to impact the organization and eventually the bottom line. Generally, we HR leaders, and I take responsibility for that, that generally we do not speak that language,
Yeah.
which corresponds with the CEO, which corresponds with the business leader, and which influences them or which convinces them. So it's not a one-sided thing that HR should start projecting it in a way that it's so bad, we are not being given due importance, we are not heard. It's also their responsibility of HR as a function to come up with recommendations which impresses the CEO and which sounds reasonable and which sounds impactful to them. So that's how that seat that is there on the table, that seat will become more meaningful for them, and they will turn their heads towards HR. That what's your opinion? Where do we? How should we come up with the people strategy? How should we put people into the right jobs and roles based on their aptitude? And then when they will see the impact, then they will start hearing HR with much more focus and much more authenticity.
Beautiful advice, sir. I would take that thing. And again, so all the people to learn as well that HR needs to speak the right language. What CEO understands, what a business understands, sir. One last question of this segment is you have worked with multiple organizations, sir, from international to multinationals to automotive to banking. You have worked with a lot of people and with traditional bosses, also with the modern system bosses, all that thing. What's that one difference that you feel in terms of traditional, that is हम सेठ बोलते हैं, versus the modern day MNCs, उनमें क्या difference है lead करने का लोगों को? What's different that you see?
Actually, differences are quite a few.
Uh-huh.
We talk about employee engagement.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about employee value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about giving employees something that motivates them.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference in traditional and more professional, or
Modern.
so to say, more modern or multinationals,
Yeah.
is that they not only talk about it, but they have very well defined programs very well-defined initiatives, which communicates to employees that the organization is really concerned about them. Organization is genuinely interested in their development, is genuinely interested in their growth and progress in the organization. And any human, let's not even use the phrase employee, any human is very intelligent to gauge that anyone and everyone who is talking to me or who's talking to us, are they really sincere with us?
Yeah.
Sincerity is something that can be felt immediately.
Yes.
So it comes with the tone, it comes with the intent, it comes with the program that is being offered to them. So they are able to differentiate. So that's the difference between the two. Our local entrepreneurs, our family-owned enterprises, they are, I believe, on a more positive note, they are on a journey.
Okay.
This evolutionary process is on, but obviously, being a developing country, being a country which is still in a nascent stage when it comes to the best practices implementation, they are trying for it. I see a curve which is going up, but it's still going to take a bit of time. In terms of what? They are taking time in terms of improving their trust level over the employees. They are taking time in terms of understanding that everyone is not designed to do everything. They are taking their time also in terms of understanding the business dynamics of the globe. So the ambition level of most of the family-owned enterprise is very limited. So when they do a business, they become successful, they get contented at certain point in time. And they say, whatever we have done, it has worked out, but let's now lock it wherever we are. Their ambition level, when I say, they are not interested in making it a global organization. They are not interested in taking it to an international level, going into other markets. So the lack of ambition or increase of contentment come in.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, they stop somewhere and they say it's good enough.
Yeah.
The ambition takes you in a direction where you want to expand, and then when you expand, you have to trust people because you cannot be everywhere. It's just 24/7 that we have, and it's just one person can only do so much in that 24 hours. So once you expand, you need to trust, you need to delegate, and you need to see that who is more suited for what. What is happening over the years is that most of the family-owned enterprises, they start trusting one, two, or three people, and they start entrusting them or delegating them everything, which is not the right strategy.
Of course, of course. With that note, sir, our first segment comes to an end. Thank you so much. As a HR as it is was our first segment. Let's move towards the next segment. All right. So let's start our second segment now, which is called trainings, talent, and HR theater. सर सबसे पहले बात करते हैं ट्रेनिंग्स के बारे में, ट्रेनिंग कैलेंडर्स के बारे में। जनवरी शुरू हो गया है सर, हमारे पास हर दूसरे दिन ईमेल आती है किसी कंपनी से और हमें बताया जाता है कि जी ये टॉपिक्स हैं, आपके पास अपने प्रोग्राम है, अच्छा, और हम कहते हैं आपको करवाना कब है, तो बोलते हैं ट्रेनिंग कैलेंडर बन रहा है। बहुत सारी ट्रेनिंग्स ट्रेनिंग कैलेंडर की हद तक रह जाती है सर, बहुत सारी ट्रेनिंग से टिक बॉक्सेस रह जाते हैं। Why is that happening? Why trainings have just become tick boxes and not really, driving the culture of learning in the organization? Why do you think what do you think is the gap here?
Okay, actually it goes. I mean, I'll have to drag it a bit back in terms of process in the organization. Training calendar obviously is a result of proper training needs assessment exercise. That exercise can take place in two ways. Either it's made part of a performance appraisal exercise, or a separate exercise can be done for training assessment. In both the cases, generally speaking, no one takes it seriously.
Yeah.
So whether it's being made a part of the performance evaluation form or is being assessed separately, that deep dive that is required in order to assess the individual, what are his area of improvement, what are his strengths that needs to be reinforced, both the things.
Yeah.
No one generally takes that much of a deep dive in order to be in order to do justice with that exercise, so that we get to understand that what do we need to do in order to develop that a particular individual.
Yeah.
And then obviously making that individual better so that he or she can contribute to the bottom line of the organization.
Makes sense.
So when TNA is not happening the way it should ideally be happening, again, exceptions aside, then whatever we make of that training calendar based on the flimsy TNA that has been done,
Yeah.
not much can be expected out of that.
Exactly.
exercise. So, and why that is happening? That is happening for the reason that it's a lot of processes and a lot of initiatives in an organization are taken just for the heck of it.
Okay.
So no focused exercise is undertaken with the objective in place that this is why we are doing it. This is what we want to achieve out of this exercise. But एक करना है तो बस वो कर दी just to complete the formality and then moving on कि जी ट्रेनिंग कैलेंडर बन गया हमारा based on the TNA that we did और अब हमें इस ट्रेनिंग कैलेंडर का एग्जीक्यूशन करना है.
बिल्कुल.
सो गोइंग फॉरवर्ड
बजट एलोकेट हो जाते हैं.
बजट एलोकेट हो जाते हैं,
जून दिसंबर में खत्म करना है.
लोग एलोकेट हो जाते हैं,
जी.
and then we move forward and then we see it happening a lot that a lot of favorites get
Exactly.
nominated to some good programs, whether they are suited for them
Or not.
or not. A lot of people who deserve that are left behind,
Yeah.
and they're not given any heed to. So the whole exercise needs to be revamped with the right intent, and intent is something that's where we always start from.
So when you just mentioned about revamping, I work half of time in UAE and have studied in Australia as well. One thing that I've read and I've observed from senior HR leaders and senior business leaders across the world is that they say that L&D does not belong to HR anymore. L&D has to be a separate entity, separate from HR, and it has to have a business-driven results, and it has to have a strategic role in the organization where the person of L&D is solely responsible for bringing that culture of learning and, of course, training people to be ready to uplift their performance. What do you think about that? Is that one of the solutions that can be applicable here as well, or no?
Honestly, I wouldn't consider it as a solution.
Okay.
Making L&D a separate function depends on the size of the organization.
Right.
If the size is large,
Yeah.
if it's an organization, let's say, for the sake of example, something like National Bank, it is a huge organization.
It is.
With 20,000 odd people. Here, L&D can become a separate function so that full focus can be brought to this particular thing. But otherwise, generally, we have organizations which have sizes of 1,000 to 2,000 to 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Honestly, we don't need to have L&D as a separate function.
Okay.
And then L&D has to be in sync with whatever is happening in rest of HR in terms of hiring the right people, understanding those people, and then communicating that to L&D that what needs to be done for them. How do we need to cater to the gaps that have been identified by HR so that L&D can come up with customized solutions? What is required? Is it only training that is required, or shape of workshops and programs, or do people need to be rotated? Do people need to be coached? When it comes to L&D, training is not the only solution.
Of course, that's one of the functions.
Just one of the solutions that we can recommend for a particular individual or a set of individuals. Then we have other interventions as well.
Definitely.
That have to be undertaken. But generally ऐसा होता नहीं.
Yeah.
वो बस ट्रेनिंग पे भेज दी.
And that is my next question, sir. ये ट्रेनिंग पे जो भेज दो वाला सोच है या फिर सेल्स, सर आपने खुद पे बहुत सारे ट्रेनिंग फंक्शंस देखे हैं, आपने खुद बहुत सारे मॉनिटर भी किए होंगे, बहुत सारे आपने साइन भी किए होंगे. बहुत सारी ट्रेनिंग सिर्फ इवेंट बेस्ड है, बहुत सारी ट्रेनिंग्स के नाम पे सिर्फ engagement exercises हैं, yeah, and I'm being as courteous as possible by calling them engagement exercise. There are other words too that can be said about those things. अच्छा, उससे होता ये कि the entire function of L&D or the entire profession of trainers gets disturbed, क्योंकि फिर लेबल उन पर लग रहा होता है और जाके फिर उनके साथ हो जाती है और एंड में उन्हें भी दुकान चलानी है अपनी, तो एक्सेप्ट कर भी लेते हैं मजबूरन। ऐसे वक्तों में सर क्या इश्यू है, सही कैसे होगा ये सारे के सारे मामलात, और कौन स्टेप लेगा इसको सही करने के लिए?
Okay, some onus of it certainly remains with HR in order to suggest and recommend the right thing. Not only suggest and recommend, but substantiate it with fact, substantiate it with case studies. Case studies means local case studies, the case studies of the organization, that this is what has happened in last 5 years, so most organizations, or last 3 years, or whenever since whatever time the incumbent has been there, rather than talking in generic ways,
Yeah.
which is not very convincing. So it had to be a fact-based recommendation to the CEO.
सही।
When it comes to your question that how will it change,
Yeah.
who will take the lead, so HR definitely will come up with recommendations based on facts, but the big onus remains with CEO, remains with the chief executive, the president of the bank, the CEO of the organization. Why? Because once they start giving importance to this particular function, only then it will see light of the day. There is no other way. The only organizations I have worked with where I was as an HR professional, I was instrumentally successful was never because of me. I am the same in all organizations I have worked for. It was because of the interest and focus of the CEO.
Lovely.
When he was behind me or she was behind me,
Yeah.
HR did wonders. When it did that kind of support and that kind of belief was not there from the top man or woman, HR's all initiatives were just initiatives that were there to to share it with others,
Just engagement activity.
to discuss it in podcasts like this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's about it. So the cardinal role is rests with the top individual of the organization.
But sir, when we talk about these top people of the organization, जब इनकी ट्रेनिंग की बात आती है, तो इनको तो फॉरेन कंट्रीज भेजा जाता है, इन्हें कहा जाता है जाओ अमेरिका जाओ, जाओ फ्रांस जाओ, जाके लीडरशिप सीख के आओ वगैरह वगैरह। सीख के आते हैं, बिल्कुल सीख के आते हैं, मगर जो बॉटम पे काम चल रहा है, जो बंदों के असली मसाइल है, चाहे आप किसी फैक्ट्री की बात करें, आप बैंकिंग की बात करें, आप किसी की बात करें, वो अभी भी एक बहुत बड़ा गैप है। उनको कई सारे लोगों को शायद, आई एम मे बी रॉन्ग, यू कैन करेक्ट मी ऑन दैट, कई सारे लोगों को एक्चुअली पिन पॉइंट पता ही नहीं है कि नीचे वाले लेवल पे क्या चल रहा है। और आप जो ट्रेनिंग करवा भी रहे हैं उनके लिए, फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट मी गिव एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ अ ग्रूमिंग ट्रेनिंग। ग्रूमिंग ऐसे टॉपिक है जिसके ऊपर कोई साल ट्रेनिंग्स चलती है, बट एक सेल्समैन को, एक सेल्स बॉय को, सेल्स गर्ल को आप ग्रूमिंग की ट्रेनिंग कहते हैं, और वो सामने से ये कह देता है कि सर जी आप बाहर धूप देखें, इस बाइक पे घूमना है मुझे नंबर्स लाने के लिए, आप कैसे एक्सपेक्ट कर दे कि मैं हर वक्त जो ना फिटनेस दिखूं, बिकॉज मैं हर वक्त एसी वाले कमरे में नहीं बैठा हुआ। ये गैप है बहुत बड़ा। अक्सर ट्रेनिंग में सर मुझे जो अक्सर फीडबैक मिलता है मेरी ट्रेनिंग्स के ऊपर, मैं इसका मजाक भी एक बना लिया है मैंने, कि जब भी मैं ट्रेनिंग पे आता हूँ ना, मुझे लोग कहते हैं जैन ये बात है मेरे बॉस को सिखाओ, उसकी बॉस की ट्रेनिंग करवाई और वो भी यही बोलता है कि ये बात मेरे बॉस को सिखाओ। ये क्या हो रहा है एंड व्हाई इज दैट हैपनिंग? इंटर्न जब हमें जब तक कुछ पता है, आप लोगों को सब कुछ पता होगा। व्हाट्स हैपनिंग हियर?
Okay, I'll just zoom out a bit and then I'll zoom in.
प्लीज।
Zooming out, as I said, and I'm very fond of big picture approaches to solutions of things. We as a society again, we we work more on form, okay, than substance. So people generally are not detail oriented. They just want to get over with it so that this particular box is checked
Yeah.
and then we can move on. In order to achieve anything, in order to make a space for yourself, which everyone wants to, but unfortunately is not ready to take that deep dive.
Yeah.
Detail orientation is of utmost importance. And that requires a lot of hard work, that requires a lot of patience, and that requires, a belief in the process as well. That if I'll do this, this, and this will result in this, which will eventually not only make me look good, but I'll learn a lot during the process,
Yeah.
and also I'll create an impact in other people's life.
Right.
If this clarity is not there, which is not there in most of the cases, then we don't take that route,
Agree.
and we just कीप चेकिंग बॉक्सेस। तो जब कोई इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं लेगा कि उसकी टीम ने, ये जो सेल्समैन है जिसकी बात हो रही है, ये धूप में जाके कैसे अपनी ग्रूमिंग को, कैसे अपनी हाइजीन को मेंटेन कर सकता है, या विद इन, तो उसके लिए क्या करना होगा। इसी की मिसाल हम ले लेते हैं बहुत छोटी, टू लाइंस, दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर सेल्स पर्सन हैज टू बी प्रोवाइडेड, लेट्स से, let me take example of my own organization, what we have done. Okay. And that has worked out very well. And inshallah will reap further benefits. हमने भी यही रिक्वेस्ट कि भाई आप लोगों की हाइजीन अच्छी है, या अप टू द मार्क हो, या आपकी जो वो जो ग्रूमिंग है वो अप टू द मार्क नहीं है। While we were saying that, one person came up with a comment कि जी आप ये जो बात ट्रेनिंग में बता रहे हैं, ये बहुत अच्छी बता रहे हैं, बड़ी अच्छी बात है, और हम ही बता रहे हैं, लेकिन ये तो इनकी सैलरी आपको इल्म है कि कितनी है? दे कांट बाय अ डिओडोरेंट, यस, दे कांट बाय परहैप्स कोलोन। तो व्हाट वी डिड वाज कि हमने एक सेट ऑफ कोलोन्स एंड वो हर स्टोर में प्रोवाइड कर यूज फॉर कि आप सुबह आओ, कंपनी विल प्रोवाइड यू विद दिस, यू जस्ट फ्रेशन अप, मेक योरसेल्फ फील बेटर, एंड देन गेट आउट टू द जॉब। Awesome. Because to expect कि वो लड़का या लड़की जो 40,000 रुपए लेके जा रहा है और उससे अपना घर भी चला रहा है, तो उसको हम पुश करें कि देखो इसमें से हर महीने तुम जो है वो 1,000 रुपए का बॉडी स्प्रे खरीदो। दैट कुड बी अनफेयर, दैट बी अनफेयर, अ बिट टफ। वो कर भी लेंगे अगर मजबूरी में, तो कंटिन्यू नहीं कर पाएंगे, और फिर वो किसी ऐसी जगह को ढूंढते रहेंगे जहाँ ये ना करना पड़े, और वहाँ मूव कर जाएंगे। फिर एचआर एंड बिजनेस रोएगा कि टर्नओवर बहुत है, तो टर्नओवर तो होगा, बिल्कुल होगा। द आइडिया इज टू हिट द रूट, या रूट को हिट नहीं किया जाएगा तो फिर वो निशस्तन गुप्तन बर्खास्तन वाली कैसे रहेगी, एंड वी विल कीप कंप्लेनिंग कि समथिंग इज नॉट वर्किंग आउट, और लोग अच्छे नहीं, ये लोग तो अच्छे और बुरे तो नहीं होते, सबको अल्लाह मियां ने अच्छा बनाया। We need to give them an enabling environment. Yes. Even after that, if they don't perform, then it's their choice. But at least वो enabling environment तो provide किया जाए। ये कब आएगा? ये वहीं से आएगा जहाँ से बात हमने शुरू की थी। That we dive deep.
डाइव डीप, ब्यूटीफुल सर। डाइव डीप के बाद एक आखिरी सवाल है इस सेगमेंट का, वो है एचआर इन्फ्लुएंसर। सर माशाल्लाह कोविड के बाद तो एक टन्स ऑफ बरसात हुई है जी एचआर इन्फ्लुएंसर्स की लिंक्डइन पे। 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 1,80,000 इतने फॉलोअर्स। और मतलब इट्स बीन 16 इयर्स आई एम इन द ट्रेनिंग वर्ल्ड, मुश्किल से मैं 20,000 भी नहीं हुए आज तक, और मैं ढूंढता रहता हूँ कि कैसे होंगे, बट लोग हैवंट गॉट टू सेट। और फिर ये अच्छा इन्फ्लुएंसर एक तो ये दिखा है, लिंक्डइन के फॉलोअरशिप बन गया, लिंक्डइन ऑल टुगेदर एक इंस्टाग्राम और फेसबुक बन गया है। दूसरा फिर हो गया सर पैडल्स, हो रही हैं गैदरिंग्स, अभी रमजान आएगा सर, इफ्तारियाँ, 10 चीज़ें राइट। ये हर जगह देखे जा रहे हैं, ये कुछ चंद लोग हैं हर शहर के जो हर जगह देखे जा रहे हैं। मैं यहाँ पे 2 सवाल है जिससे मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा, बिकॉज़ यू आर सीएचआरओ। पहला, इसकी नीड कैसे पड़ी अचानक से कि एचआर इन्फ्लुएंसर्स बनाने की ज़रूरत है लोगों को? कि एचआर जो कि एक लोग ऐसा डिपार्टमेंट था, जहाँ महीने-महीने शायद बातचीत होती थी और इन्फ्लुएंसर्स बन गए ऑल टुगेदर, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, क्या ये एचआर डिपार्टमेंट्स का मार्केटिंग गिमिक है, जो इन लोगों को लेके आया गया है और इन लोगों को दिखाया जा रहा है? ये हर जगह पहुँचे हुए हैं, हर कॉन्फ्रेंस पे पहुँचे हुए हैं, हर इवेंट पे, हर नेटवर्किंग पे काम कब करते हैं ये लोग? तो ये मेरे कुछ सवालात हैं जो काइंड ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी है। तो प्लीज़ इस पे थोड़ा गाइड कीजिएगा हमें।
Well, the question is very apt. It's very current. We are all seeing this happening. But whenever I am faced personally with any such happening or with any such phenomena, I try again, as I preached, I try to dive deep. So when we dive deep, what we discover is that anything in itself is never good or bad. In the day and age in which we are living, influencers, uh, opinion leaders, social media uh, influencers. Yeah. It's all happening. It's all in vogue, and in there's nothing entirely wrong with it. Everything becomes good or bad based on the intent that is in action behind.
Right.
So if the intent is only to project yourself, if intent is only to project an organization in a particular light, then something is certainly wrong somewhere. But if the intent is that I would like to project the real things that I have been doing in my organization over LinkedIn or Insta or whichever media we have, and if the intent is that here I'm doing a podcast with you today. The intent is that whatever little uh, I have learned in my career and life, this is an opportunity for me to share it with the young ones, to share it with some of the peers as well, so that perhaps कोई एक अच्छी बात अगर पहुंच जाती है और उससे किसी एक पे भी कोई थोड़ा सा इम्पैक्ट हो जाता है, तो perhaps that would be my redemption of whatever I have done. So intent really matters a lot. And as I said a little earlier, that intents become very apparent to the people who are having a look at it. It doesn't remain hidden for a very long time. As they say in cricketing language, that form is temporary,
Class is permanent. Indeed, it is. And with that note, our second segment comes to an end. So let's move to the third segment and let's dive deeper in the third segment. Thank you. That's our third segment, which is awards, panels, and HR Eco Chamber. Sir, you are founder of HR Pinnacle Awards. We are in the third year of HR Pinnacle Awards. And so these awards that happens, including yours, do they really award the excellence out there, or is it just a glorified networking event, or just a sponsorship exercise? What's happening, sir, with your awards and other awards too, please?
Okay, so the first comment is on awards overall.
Yes.
And I would say that not all. There are some awards, other than ours as well, who are doing a fabulous job, who are really taking a lot of pains into coming up with something that is well intended and that takes a lot of hard work before we see on the stage whatever we see. So it would be absolutely unfair to term that all of them are such which are with a different intent rather than what gets apparent on the stage. So some real good work is being done and has been done.
Okay.
But again, as I've been saying, that those are exceptions. There are lots of awards these days that happen, and most of them actually happen over social media platforms. I mean, when I'm saying that, there must be a ceremony that is happening at the end of it all, but the core intent of most of them is to come to the fore, take mileage over social media, increase their presence, get some brownie points, as they say.
Yeah.
But that's not how it should be.
Yeah.
So when I came up with this idea alongside my associate, we wanted to do just one thing, that's to honestly and sincerely recognize what HR has been doing.
Okay.
And when it comes to HR Pinnacle Awards, that's the reason. The two three things that perhaps I'm not claiming anything, that we did for the first time is to first of all announce the jury, which consisted of some of the most celebrated professionals of Pakistan.
Lovely.
They were part of the jury, and without going into any detail, because that's not we are here for.
Yeah.
The jury is chaired by none other than Dr. Ishrat Hussain.
Lovely, mashallah.
So the gentlemen and rest of the people on the jury, they come with a certain this credibility and certain stature, and it's expected of them to select the winners who really deserved it. The other bit relates to the international collaboration that we brought in by the advent of World Happiness Foundation, who are our collaborators in this. And then we went all the way to a chartered accountant firm who run the whole process and not us.
Oh, very nice.
So that's how we tried to bring in some kind of credibility that these awards are being given on excellence of work that has been done. So that's about HR Pinnacle Awards. But overall, since I've been privy to it, I can comment on my own fraternity as well. The kind of nominations that we receive, it's so raw in
Okay.
most of the cases.
Okay.
And I mean, even at times, the way they have presented the stuff for which they want to earn an award, the grammatical representation, the spelling representation, even that is missing. So that shows the seriousness level. They just push in their nomination so that they can earn one of the awards. But then we take it very, very seriously, and we evaluate it very, very with a lot of hard work. So that is the case, and I have a certain mission as well behind these awards. It's not only about HR that I'm interested in. Inshallah, going forward, whenever Allah Ta'ala allows us, we want to expand it to developing a culture of real recognition and appreciation across society. In Pakistan, allow me to say two lines about it as well. We see that this country has produced some real world class stuff
Indeed.
over last 78 years.
Bilkul.
Not many have been recognized the way they should have been recognized.
Yeah.
And I'll just quote one example in this regard. Jahangir Khan, the man who didn't lose a match for 5.5 years at international level,
Yeah.
from 1981 till 1986.
Yeah.
If we step out today from where we are recording this podcast and ask a boy on the street that who is Jahangir Khan, there is a likelihood 80% that he wouldn't be knowing the gentleman.
Yeah.
And that hurts me. That he needs to be not only recognized and appreciated, he needs to be celebrated as an icon this country has produced. Some other countries are making videos and movies on him, but unfortunately not us. So that's my mission.
Inshallah, sir. So while we've talked about awards, and of course we've mentioned about other awards too, and of course, as you earlier said, that the intent is something that cannot be hidden for a long time. It will be visible, and a lot of times it is visible what few awards shows are doing. Now my next thing is about panel discussions. 2 years, maybe 3 years, last 2-3 years, a lot of panel discussions are happening across the country. You know, a lot of HR people are coming, talking, and all that thing. One thing that I feel, now this is my opinion, please correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of discussions are just the same thing being said again and again, again and again. And I don't know, people do not have no cap there, They are filtered, they are very diplomatic. So are these discussions really, really adding any productive conversation, or just, praising each other, well done, well done, well done? What's happening in these panel discussions? And after a while, people stop going to these panel discussions now. They're bored. What's up? What's up with it? Please, because we have been a part of many panel discussions. So you can please correct me on that as well.
So the first comment is that quite a lot of individuals are doing it simply for self-projection.
Right.
One. Two, whatever is being discussed is not being discussed again based on personal experiences, solid facts, case studies of their own organizations. It's most of the time, it's a generic discussion that comes up.
Yeah.
And then it ends, and then there are certain souvenirs and
giveaways, a token competition,
and shields.
Yeah.
And then a photo session, and then people network.
Exactly.
So the core, it remains what happens at the end of the discussion rather than what happens during the discussion.
Yes. Yes.
So having said that, although in the spirit, I am not at all wary or against the discussions.
Okay.
Discussions should happen. Discourse is excellent. We as a society are not very fond of discourse. So if this particular culture is taking roots, it's good. Perhaps we are on a journey again. It would get better with time. But the shape and form it is in right now, I think the intent needs to be worked upon. And also the participation in terms of inclusivity of participation needs to really improve. There are only few faces that we see again and again and again.
Exactly.
What I have started doing from last, I felt that myself, that I am now getting overexposed. I am now being invited every third session. So I started requesting the organizers that if you allow me, let me recommend someone, a younger one,
No.
who's an excellent speaker, who has good exposure, who has come perhaps from outside Pakistan, has a few stories to share, who is working perhaps in a remoter area or in a lesser known organization. But since I have had the privilege of meeting this individual, boy or a girl, I think they need to be brought on to these forums. We need to we keep talking about inclusivity, but when it comes to these panel discussions, there are not many faces that change.
Yes.
So I have people in my organization who should have an opportunity
Yep.
to represent organization, to represent themselves in such sessions. और इन्हीं में से लोग फिर बड़ी जल्दी जेन जी में से एचआर हेड्स बनने वाले हैं,
इंशाल्लाह।
कुछ बन चुके हैं,
Yep.
तो उनको मौका मिलना चाहिए. I mean, the people from my generation and even people from millennials, उनको तो मौका मिलता रहता है, तो आप बांटने वाले बने, तो फिर आपको चीज़ें मिलना भी शुरू हो जाएगी.
बेशक, बेशक सर। One last question before the segment ends. You have been a part of many panel discussions. तो ये तो हमने बात कर ली कि बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है, intent and all that thing. Self projection ज़्यादा है उसके पीछे बनिस्बत के लोगों को सीखने को मिले. एक कोई ऐसी थीम या कोई ऐसा टॉपिक जो आप चाहते हैं कि इन पैनल डिस्कशंस पे बात किया जाए और नहीं होता. इट कैन बी समथिंग वेरी अनकंफर्टेबल अबाउट द एचआर और अबाउट द मैनेजमेंट, अबाउट द लीडरशिप, अबाउट कॉर्पोरेट कल्चर. जो बात होनी चाहिए, जो नहीं हो रही है, और क्यों नहीं हो रही है, ये भी अगर बता दें तो.
As far as, in all humility, as far as I'm concerned, I think I've not stopped anything that is coming to my mind in sharing that.
Okay.
Sometimes it has been appreciated, sometimes it has not been as much appreciated. But I don't recall a particular subject जिसको बोलते बोलते मैं रुक गया हूँ.
Okay.
But overall, I think HR professionals and people, my friends who are there, my fraternity, we need to speak more about the crucial role of HR that needs to be prevalent in the organization. वो अमूमन सब जो है वो अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को जहन में रखते हुए, बिकॉज दिस पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिकेशन इन शेप ऑफ वट एवर फॉर्म इट विच एवर प्लेटफॉर्म इज गोइंग ऑन, वो थोड़ा सा रिस्ट्रिक्ट हो जाते हैं कि कहीं बॉस को बुरा ना लग जाए.
Yes, exactly.
और उस बात को वो रोक लेते हैं और जो गुड़ी गुड़ी बातें हैं वो ज़्यादा कर लेते हैं.
जी जी जी.
तो एचआर की जो क्रूशल रोल है उसको मजीद हाईलाइट करना, सो दैट इट गेट्स द ड्यू इम्पोर्टेंस which it deserves in the organization, and also highlighting that operations is the core of HR.
Yeah.
But then the story needs to move on. We need to move on to the real business partnering. We really need to move on to the strategic bit of HR. We really need to move on. Generally, people don't talk about the fact कि चूंकि वो fashionable नहीं है, they don't talk about the fact that HR professionals, and more so the senior ones, need to spend time with people in organization.
Yes.
वो हायरिंग प्रोसेस की बात कर लेंगे, वो ट्रेनिंग की बात कर लेंगे, वो अप्रेजल्स की बात कर लेंगे, लेकिन कोई ये बात नहीं करता कि आप लोगों को टाइम कितना देते हैं. सो व्हाट आई प्रैक्टिस एवरी डे, that in my on my workstation, there is hardly any time of the day जब कोई मेरे पास बैठा ना हो. मैं किसी को अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में रिफ्यूज नहीं करता, और रिफ्यूज करना इज अ वेरी एरोगेंट वर्ड. दैट दैट दैट्स समथिंग दैट्स पार्ट ऑफ माय रोल. अगर मैं लोगों से नहीं मिलूंगा, उनके साथ वक्त स्पेंड नहीं करूंगा, उनकी कोचिंग नहीं करूंगा, या उनसे सीखने की कोशिश नहीं करूंगा, या उनका दर्द समझने की कोशिश नहीं करूंगा, तो फिर वो एचआर इज नॉट रियल एचआर. प्रोसेसेस अगर वो एचआर कर रहा है बेस्ड ऑन द फॉर्मेट्स दैट आर देयर, बेस्ड ऑन द सॉफ्टवेयर दैट इज इन वो, तो वो फिर दैट्स नॉट रियल एचआर. उस रियल एचआर की बात होनी चाहिए कि वो जो अकबर इलाहाबादी ने कहा था, और वो 100 साल पहले कह गए कि कोर्स तो फकत लफ्ज सिखाते हैं, आदमी आदमी बनाते.
क्या बात है सर. बहुत बहुत प्यारी बात कही सर. With that note, thank you so much sir for joining us today. So many learnings, so many unfiltered conversations, so many no caps that we needed. And एक आखिरी मैसेज सर उस यंग बॉय या गर्ल को जो अभी भी एचआर फील्ड में आए हैं, एचआर एस्पायरिंग सीनियर प्रोफेशनल्स बनना चाहते हैं, एक मैसेज जो आप देना चाहते हैं उन बॉयज एंड गर्ल्स को प्लीज.
Actually, these days we talk a lot about the fresh generation, which is Gen Z,
Yeah.
and now Gen Alpha soon will be getting into the
Of course.
workforce.
Of course.
I have very high hopes from them.
Inshallah.
Why? Because they are people who are very candid. They are people who are not holding anything to themselves. They speak out. They speak their minds. They are eager to learn. They want things to get seriously better, or they are not holding themselves
Yeah.
in announcing that. So very high hopes, because Gen X or millennials, due to certain reasons, some valid and some perhaps not as valid, they kind of played very diplomatically.
Yes.
But I think here is a new face which is perhaps not as diplomatic, और वो एक अलग सब्जेक्ट है, वो क्यों ऐसे नहीं है, लेकिन इससे बहुत हाई होप्स हैं. My only suggestion and very humble recommendation to them is that in addition to their urge of learning, their urge of being purposeful, their urge of being someone who's doing something important, they need to get into the thick of things. Detail orientation, कुछ चीजें प्रिंसिपल्स मैनिफेस्टेशंस चेंज होती हैं लाइफ में,
जी जी
प्रिंसिपल्स कभी चेंज नहीं होते.
बेशक बिल्कुल.
So the principle of working hard, the principle of diving deep, the principle of detail orientation will equip them to come up with better things. जब चीज का पता होगा तो उसको बेहतर किया जा सकेगा.
बेशक.
जब चीज का ही पता नहीं होगा तो बेहतर किस चीज को करेंगे आप फिर. सो ये बड़ा इम्पोर्टेंट है कि थोड़ा सा, जिसे खालिस उर्दू में कहते हैं चेता लगाना, वो चेता लगाना पड़ेगा. एक जगह रुक के डीप डाइव करना पड़ेगा कि चीज़ समझ लें और फिर उसको नेक्स्ट लेवल पे ले जाएं, जो शायद पहले वाले नहीं ले जा सके.
बेशक से बहुत खूबसूरत बात कही. थैंक यू सो मच अशर साहब फॉर जॉइनिंग अस टुडे. एंड दोस्तों, यहाँ ख़त्म होता है हमारा आज का पॉडकास्ट. बहुत सारी बातें की, बहुत सारा एचआर को समझा, बहुत सारी कल्चर ट्रेंडिंग क्या चल रहा है, क्या सारी बातें की है. इंशाल्लाह फिर मुलाकात होगी आपसे एक अगले पॉडकास्ट में एक नए गेस्ट के साथ, और अपनी बातें साथ नो कैप कॉन्वर्जेशंस जारी रहेगी. थैंक यू.